Okay, can you guess what part of town we're in? Can you even believe we're in town? I am standing out here at 3530 Trimble Court, and this is in the heart of Green Hills. You are only 1 mile from the Green Hills Mall, you're only 3 miles from the Percy Warner Parks, and you're only 5 miles from downtown Nashville. And look at that. If you didn't know better, you might even be in Colorado. The home sits on a 1-acre lot. Let me just pan a little bit and just show you how incredible this is right here in town. And we're going to go through the home and show you what it's all about and show you that you can be in town, have a spacious yard, and immediate access to everything that you want right here in Green Hills. So let's go inside and take a look. We might do a little bit of capture just out here because it's so beautiful before we dart in, but I'll show you what it's all about inside. My name is Sean Larson, real estate broker here in Middle Tennessee and also the 38th Florida market. Just look how green it is here. You know, so many times, like I mentioned, when people come to town, you know, they think they lose everything that the suburbs or maybe living out in the country would include. But just look at the surroundings here. If you didn't know any better, you'd be in a park. Look how lush the lawn is, landscaping. And you can see, or just, you know, for scale, you can see how large the yards are just by the home next door. Look how much elbow room you have here. Simply incredible. One thing about the landscaping too, look how diverse it is. You know, there's so many hidden things that go into making a home appealing. You know, whether it's the design elements, for instance, at the home there, look, you've got painted brick, you've got stone, you've got the siding, and all of those different finishes lend like a curiosity or intrigue to your eye, and that translates into something being interesting. And that tends to just really capture people, and you can see the same thing with all the hardscaping and landscaping. Look how diverse it is with the plant type. You've got the stone sizes, blends with the aggregate driveway. Got the steps, and then you come down here to the entrance and you've got a whole different collection. You know, you're blending in the painted brick. Even with the stone placement. Look at that with the gaps, with the smaller stones. It's all lending toward the curiosity that you have. And to most people, that makes things interesting. This is just beautiful. And again, you're right here in the middle of town. So let's go inside and see what that has in store. Okay, we've stepped immediately inside. It is a broker event, so you'll see some people and probably hear some conversation as well. Look at the finishes. Look at the floor-to-ceiling windows. Excellent design element right there. Roll down shades you can see at the very top.
Okay, fabulous. Happy to have you. Can I drink of some sort? Okay, what do you want? So we've got some stuff in the cooler here. I can make something if you like this. We got tequila what? Just straight? I will try my best. Yeah. It was the thanks for the You as well. Okay, all right.
Take care.
And bring them home. Bring them home.
Just for scale, like I usually mention in videos, you got a king bed there, 2 nightstands, just to give you an idea how large that room is. Look at that, awesome. You got the tall windows, roll down shades at the top. Incredible. And again, look at the view. You know, out front we looked at it's almost like a park setting. Well, look at the back, and that is the view from the primary bedroom. Incredible, isn't it? Herringbone floor going on, nice. Beautiful profile on the cabinet, hardware. Awesome design in the cabinet too. If you notice, you've got the stack on the right and left. You have the makeup counter in the center. Beautiful design. Look at that. If that doesn't look like it's straight out of a spa, I don't know what is. Look at that. And usually when people see windows by tubs, they love the light, but then they think, well, do I need to put curtains or shade? But look what's outside your window. You're fully covered with greenery. Awesome. It just floods this room with daylight. Timeless choice right there. And I know I try not to use timeless too much because I'm not sure there is a timeless, but if there is, this is probably it. Look at that. The gray and white tones, those just last forever. Got multiple shower valves, sprayer, rain head. Nice. Frameless glass door. And if there's anything you can appreciate about a home, it is a well-designed closet. And we are standing in one right now. Look at all the hanging. You got half height. You've got the shoe rack. You've got plenty of drawer storage. You've got the island here with more shoe storage. You know, and sometimes closet design is something that people really have to look at how they live to determine what they need, because everybody's style is different. You know, a lot of people don't need much full-length hanging, but they need a lot of half height or a lot of shoe racks. So, you know, when you're designing a closet, that's something to really consider of how do we live and what are our needs for a closet. This one is incredible, and it's got an abundance of everything. Plenty of shoe, full length, half length, and then you've got the island there. Beautiful design. Look at that. Look at that laundry. You know, sometimes you're going into a laundry room, it's either you don't have enough space, you don't have enough storage, the storage is the wrong type, wrong spot, something like that. You do not run into that here. I mean, look at that. Those cabinets probably rival some small kitchens or kitchenettes. Look at the profile on them. Got glazing. Look at the hardware. Look at the extent of those. Got your sink, got your base cabinets. Awesome floor selection. Beautiful. And this circles around to where we first came in the front door there. So this is the office that we panned around, just to give you a few bearings. And this is the second exterior door. So when we were out front, you probably saw an exterior door to the right. So that brings you right in here. Also note again, I like pointing out these things that people sometimes kind of just glaze over. I mean, look at the height of the windows. Nearly floor to ceiling, got the shades up top. That is spectacular. And the finishes, love showing you the floor, the cabinet profile types, countertop selection. Awesome. Look how clean and simple the lines are in their tile selections. Tiled all the way up to the ceiling. And see, that's another little detail a lot of people don't look at. You know, they see tile or they see the finish, but they don't really notice whether it went up to and on the ceiling or not. So a lot of times I try to point out those little things that kind of make homes different than the next one they see. Beautiful. So this is a secondary bedroom that's located on the front of the home. And so you have the exterior door there. That could even be like almost like a mini suite for the person, you know, where they've got the exterior door there. Look at that, got the roll shade too. More details. Just a note while we're here. So we have the exterior door that's behind me, and see, you've also got this door that allows this whole secondary bedroom to be shut off from the rest of the home. Just little things to watch on the layout. You also notice how wide the hallway is. You know, all hallways aren't treated equal. Look how wide that is. Makes for easy navigation, and if you're carrying anything, especially since we just passed the laundry room on the left, especially if you're carrying things, the wider the hallway, you're not accidentally bumping into any walls with laundry baskets or anything you're carrying. So see, a lot of those are not only design elements, but they're just practical. I've just stepped outside the hallway that runs along the rear of the living space, and look at this. Covered porch, you got the stained beadboard, you got twin ceiling fans. The entire thing is screened in. This is incredible. And in person, you really have to try to convey the size of that table so that you'll know the size of this porch. I mean, look at the number of place settings there, plus you could fit some more on there. You've got the long bench. I mean, it's just an incredible space. Another exterior door there where you can circle back to the indoor living space. And again, look at that park-like backyard. You know, much like out front when we were talking about the landscaping, you know, a differentiation in plant type, stone, elevation, all of that just keeps things interesting. And so that continues here in the rear yard. I mean, look, you've got the ivy, different types of plants. You've got the stone there that not only serves as a design element, but it also helps with drainage as well. And then you have a slight roll to the yard, which keeps it interesting too. Different building materials continues out back. You've got the painted brick. You've got the siding, you've got the steel roof over the porch there. And this is just standing just outside the primary bedroom. So I kind of showed you what the view was from the primary. Those are the windows we were looking out of. And keep in mind, we are right in town. And so, you know, after we look at enough homes and talk to enough buyers, you know, we hear a lot of, well, we need more space and we need a lot of greenery, so we want to be out in the suburbs or maybe even out in the country. But this is a prime example of where you can have that right here in town. And again, this is Green Hills. You're only a mile from the Green Hills Mall, about 3 miles to Percy Warner Parks, which is kind of the Old Hickory Boulevard and Highway 100 area. And then you're only 5 miles to downtown. Beautiful. You're probably already thinking about the parties or entertaining you're going to be doing here, aren't you? And just to give you a size, look at that. Those are 6 panels right there along that wall, just to show you how wide that is. You got dual doors there for easy egress and ingress. You've got the next door that goes over to the living space, so access is no problem at all. So we've just come upstairs just from the rear hallway there, which is kind of in the living space and kitchen area. Now I know you just made an expression when you saw this. Look at everything that is up here at the top of the stairs. All this living space. Double doors that open to a balcony that overlooks the lower living space. See the chandelier and fireplace there? And you know, something like this is a good design element because, you know, you can open those and allow kind of the sound of everything to flow through. But, you know, when it comes time to everybody wanting their own space, whether it be for, you know, conversation or wanting to watch TV or what have you, shutting those off prevents what we in our house call a volume war. You know, you don't have sound interfering, the TVs are isolated. So that's a really good design element right there. Incredible built-ins. And you know, if you look at that design as well, look at that, they incorporated windows, which not only help with the light in here, but you have to keep in mind that any window design that's affecting the inside is also affecting the exterior elevation. So when you want your windows to be balanced, you know, when you're looking at the home in terms of a design, you know, that domino affects into the interior. So they incorporated that really well with those windows to ensure the exterior looks just right, and they balanced it incredibly well with these built-ins. Fantastic job. Look at that, easy roll down shades too. Beautiful. So if we go straight across the landing here, we're going to roll right into a secondary bedroom. Same thing. Look at the windows, got your roll shades, tall ceilings. Look at that. Got an upper bank of windows up there to keep things bright. And again, you know, that also lends itself to an exterior design element. Once they put those windows up and that's visible outside, that affects the design outside as well. We see so much hardwood, but I tell you have to appreciate when you see gorgeous carpet as well. Nice floor tile. Nice classic design on the vanity. Got the profile, great hardware, perfect countertop material along with the faucet design. Beautiful. Carries over to the walk-in shower. Look at that, the gray and whites. Same thing, you've got tile all the way and covering the ceiling. Fantastic choice. So just to give you a reference on where we are, I'm going to turn left because that bathroom is somewhat of a Jack and Jill, but it shares with the common space. So we just came off that stair landing. We came through the bedroom, through the bath. So that bathroom also serves the common area up here, which is a great use of space. Here on the left, you've got an elevator. And just to give you a reference point of where we were and where we are, there we go. So we're going to pan left and continue the tour of more secondary bedrooms. Beautiful design. Everything from the door panels, carpet selection, molding profile. Beautiful. Just so we can appreciate that exterior some more. Look at that. How green it is out there. Another thing is nice too. Look at the grid pattern on the windows. See, it's more of those small details. Now in our area, you see a lot of grid patterns that may cut the glass into maybe 6 or 8, maybe even 4. But I like that grid pattern where it just cuts it in 3 panes. Floor selection. Nice. Love the tile design. Got your pennies, 2 bands nested in there. Beautiful. Got your deep tub. We usually talk about tubs in these videos. Y'all know it. You know, some of the tubs can be really shallow. They're usually the steel and ceramic coated ones. This is a really nice deep soaker tub. Super selection on the color. And this is kind of I'll kind of see if I can show you the texture. There we go. That's what they'll call a leather texture on that countertop. It's not polished, but it kind of just puts a little texture and it's kind of a design element on there. Beautiful. So if you remember from the lower level, we had that secondary bedroom on the front of the house that had the exterior door. We are right above that. So see, look at that. You've got another exterior door. Perfect balcony. Reading, got your coffee mornings, got your coffee evenings. If you have the flexibility to work from anywhere, that might just be your spot right there. Look at the selections in here. I love how it just mixes so well. Here you've got a really polished tile, a little bit of a design element there, putting the waterfall darker tone down the center. If you can see, the tile is not just traditional subway, but it also has a bevel to all the edges. Maybe you can pick that up there, which kind of keeps it being too classic, I guess. That's a nice little flair it's got going on. You've got the deep tub. And sometimes, you know, people skip over the toilet design. But I tell you, there are a lot of different toilets out there. And I mean, look at the classic design, even in the ceramic on that. And that's a Kohler. And Kohler does a really good job of introducing designs into their tanks. Nice classic profile on the panels, the hardware, your countertop. Really nice design. Okay, we just came from that secondary bedroom that's on the front of the house there, and I'm just going to pan to give you some reference. We have a secondary bed here. And this hallway takes us back to the upstairs living space. So we're passing the shared bathroom. We're passing the elevator. Pan to the backyard. And back to the living space. Got your vault ceiling. And just for reference, we're facing the front of the home here. Okay, we're back at the front door. We're heading to the lower level. So as soon as we come down the stairs from the front foyer, here on the side you're going to have the elevator access. You've got plenty of storage, refrigerator, pan left into the garage. Look at that locker. I know at our place we always call it the drop zone. You know, once people come in from the garage and they bring everything from coats, jackets, shoes, any sports equipment, and backpacks, you always want somewhere to put that. And look at that, how extensive that is. And then after your long day, and for anybody upstairs who loved that primary closet but said, wow, I could even use more of that straight across the hall. Look at that. Is that not jaw-dropping right there? Look at this. So just to recap the basement level, you've got auxiliary closet storage. Now, how beautiful was that interior? More features than you can imagine. You've got all those windows, floor to ceiling, custom shades, that beautiful rear porch. And you know, as we were touring upstairs, and I was mentioning, you know, the windows and the built-ins, for example, up there in the living space. See, this is how it affects the outside appearance of the home and the elevation design. But up in the, let me zoom in here, that living space right there is the one that had the built-ins, and you know, the windows flanked the TV, and then you had the storage stacks, the cabinets on the sides. And look how beautiful that is from the exterior. Same thing when we talked about the window grids. So you can see how fewer grids just contributes to such a clean design for this type of home. Now see, if you're doing something more traditional, and you know the 4, 6, 8 grids matches that style, then you need to go with that, because it's all a comprehensive design, you know, from a lot of elements. So you have to consider that when you're designing and building a home. And again, this is 3530 Trimble Court. You're right in the heart of Green Hills, 1 mile from the mall, 3 to all the Percy Warner parks, which is where they have steeplechase in the spring. You're only 5 miles downtown. You're here on a cul-de-sac, park-like environment. You've got all the diverse landscaping. And at the beginning of the video, we talked about how the diversification of all the different elements keeps things interesting. Because how many times have you looked at a home and it just struck you as maybe being a little boring? There wasn't enough going on. So it takes that design element collection to kind of keep your eye interested. And what your eye sees and your brain kind of processes lends toward itself, on how you feel. It's all connected. So when you pull up to a home and see all that, it just lends itself to being so comfortable. I mean, look at that. And even the plant type, when you look at that, whether it's, fewer, more rigid plants or soft leaves, it all contributes to the entire feeling of the home. Okay, so that was the tour of the awesome 3530 Trimble Court. And again, this is in Green Hills, right in the heart of Green Hills. And I keep reminding you the distance to everything, because that's one of the most important things to buyers. They talk about how close is it to groceries? How close is it to shopping? What's the distance between the home or any home and all the daily necessities? So that's why I kind of emphasize how close you are. Even though you're in town, you're only a mile to the mall, 3 to the Percy Warner, 5 to downtown. So you're right here at 3530 Trimble Court in Green Hills. So I hope that tour showed you a lot about what the home is all about. Still pictures are awesome. They show you the home. Video really helps because it kind of shows you the relationship between the rooms. So as you tour the home, you kind of have a feel for where you're going in the home and how the rooms relate. But if you want to see it in person, by all means, reach out. I'd be happy to show it to you in person. My name again is Sean Larson, real estate broker here in Middle Tennessee and the 30A Florida market. And I hope you have a spectacular day.